Sports again, coming back at you guys today with an update on some line movements, just some tips, tricks for betting, and really this video is going to be geared more towards the new bettor. So I apologize, guys, if you've been following me here and been watching videos and taking the picks and all that kind of stuff, and you're already an advanced gambler, or you know what all this stuff is as far as like spreads and odds and all that kind of stuff. Feel free to skip through the first 5 minutes or so, maybe even 10 minutes of this. It's going to be a lot of just kind of recapping it and maybe breaking down some of the stuff for people who are not heavily involved in gambling just yet. So I am going to give you guys some picks, or some leans I should say, towards the end of this, and then I will go over some injuries that are popping up that may be important. Maybe not so much for the preseason, but definitely something to watch as we get closer to the regular season, and something that may have an impact on some of the games this week as well if you are betting preseason. So first thing here, as far as, again, going back to new gamblers, if you are not familiar with this and you're looking at over 41, under 41, okay, that might be pretty self-explanatory. We're betting on whether something is the total score of the game, when you add both teams together, will be over 41 points or under 41 points. This minus 110, minus 115, what that means is you have to bet $110 to win $100. And so same thing here at minus 106 means you would bet 106 to win 100. And while the minus 110, minus 115, minus 106, they don't seem like big deals, but at the end of the year, let's say that you are a 55% gambler, right? And that means that you're actually making money. If you are consistently getting this minus 115 instead of minus 106, that's either 9 cents or $9 per play that you're losing, depending on whether you're betting $100 or you're betting $1. So let's say that you're a $100 bettor, that's your normal unit size. So that means you are losing $9 of value every play, and if you are betting 7 plays per week for the first 8 weeks, of course, as I've always kind of said, the first half of the season is your best half, or it's the half that you should be focusing on, because that's when the books and the sharp guys and all the money, they only have the same data you have. They, no matter how much time and money they can put into it, they can't make up new numbers that you don't have. So at $9 per play at 56 plays, that's $504 you lost, which, if we translate that to units, is over 5 units of value, meaning that you just hurt yourself pretty significantly, because 5 units, regardless of your bet size, is going to hurt. And when your winning percentage, or when the percentage needed to win, cash in, is so tight, 5 units is a world of difference. That's going to take you from either, maybe just coming out ahead to losing, or possibly from having a decent season where you're getting that 55% win rate to a great season. Even if you were to just push on those, or even if you were to just get the better number, those extra units of just value are going to really help in winning seasons and consistently winning seasons. All right, so next note, now that we kind of know what that means, is parlays, and why do people say that they're bad. And if you've watched all of my videos or the last few videos, I'm more of a proponent of round robins than parlays. And in that video, I kind of went over, hey, what a round robin is and why it's maybe a little bit better or more advantageous. It does cost a little bit more than parlays, but why do most analysts and a lot of YouTubers, and including myself, say, hey, parlays are not the way to go if you're trying to win money long term? So let's say that you are a 55% handicapper, and if you don't already know, in sports betting, if you can consistently get this minus 110 number, you need to win 52% of the time to break even. Anything above that and you're winning. So let's say the best handicappers, the guys that you have to pay money to get their picks, guys like Warren Sharp, guys like on Sports Memo and Sports Wage and all that kind of stuff, those guys are pretty consistent with high 50% to low 60%. So that's 58 to 62 somewhere. On the good year, those guys will get close to 70. I think Warren Sharp had a couple years where he was doing 66% on over-unders. And if you drill it down to hey, only over-unders or only sides, those numbers can shift a little bit more depending on what they're good at. But the point of this is that 55% for an individual is actually pretty pretty good. You're pretty decent at what you're doing, and maybe you just need to tweak here or there to go big time, like to be a professional at it. Because if you can get to 60 and you're winning 60% of the bets, that's about time. If you're doing that and you feel confident you can continue doing that, the day you get there, basically just give your 2 weeks notice and start betting big, because at that point you'll be able to just fund yourself off of betting. But let's say for now you're 55% better, right? Well, if you do a parlay, you got to hit at least 2 bets, but most people I know don't do just like a 2-bet parlay. It's like 3 or 4 teams, and there's some people that get real crazy and do like a 6-team parlay. But let's say that you're a 55% handicapper and you are you're gonna bet, I don't know, 3-teamer, right? So you got to be right 3 times. So that means that you are only going to win that parlay about 17% of the time. So 17% of the time, you got to imagine how much money you need to win in that one hit to pay for all those times that you're losing. So let's round it up even and say that you win 1 in 5, right? You get a good shot, you have 1 in 5. If you're betting $100 a bet, so you lost $400, right? Because you lost those first 4 times. So you need to make up for the $400 you lost, plus $100 you bet on that parlay. So you basically need at least a plus 450, let's say. Because at plus 450, what's going to happen is you'll get $450 plus your $100 back that you bet. So you get that $100 that cancels out. The 450 means that you would get the $400 that you lost from those first 4 bets, plus an extra $50. So you would, out of all these parlays, you would have been in the hole $400, put another $100 in, and at the end of the day, you're up $50 on a 3-team parlay. And that's assuming that you only do 3 teams, so you're not doing 4, 5, or 6 teams. So if you're doing more than 3 teams, your odds go down even further. So now you're not winning 17% of the time. Now you're winning like 15% of the time, 12% of the time. And so the payout has to get bigger every time your win percentage decreases, your payout needs to increase, congruently to make sure that you're paying out, that you're going to win more than you lose. So that's why parlays are just not a good bet. And that's, again, let's say, again, 17% of the time you win. Well, let's say you just have a bad week, right? Or you have a couple bad weeks, or one team messes it up or whatever. And it's very possible, especially when you're doing like a 3 or 4 team parlay, that one team messes you up, one kick doesn't go your way, one fumble, one interception. You get the point. So now you're down in the hole $500, and now you have to have a plus 550, a plus 600 bet, and on a 3-team parlay, that's really not happening unless you take a bunch of underdogs. So now you're having to reach for underdogs, and you see where I'm going with this. You start tilting, and it gets worse and worse and worse, and you keep having to kind of reach and say, man, I just need that one big hit to get me back even, and you're wasting all this time and money just trying to get to 0. So if you can, try and stay away from parlays. If you're going to do them, or if you're going to use round robins, I only do like a 1/10 of a unit, maybe a 1/4 of a unit, like for the first week, because it's kind of back to, hey, you have better, you have just as good of a chance as a sharp person does the first week, whereas, as we get into the season, your odds kind of go down, your edge decreases. So those are the first 2, I guess, tips I wanted to go over today. The last tip is really not a tip, just kind of maybe a mitigation style. So one of the items I like to do, and I don't do as much as I should probably, but I really like to do season-long bets, and I usually have like 5 or 6 for the year. One that I want to add, and I'm probably going to add maybe the week before games, regular season starts, is going to be the 49ers to win the division. If you, again, have been watching the videos, I think the Rams are actually going to win the NFC, or at least I think they have a chance to, and I think that the bet is fine. They're at plus 525 for the Rams to win the NFC. So why would I be betting the 49ers to win the division? Well, the 49ers have the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. Their team on paper is pretty deep, because even their backups are guys that we expect big things out of. So guys like Trey Lance and Trey Sermon, where they are considered, quote unquote backups right now, I think they're really good. So even if they were to suffer some injuries, they have the depth to pick it back up. Now, once the playoffs start and they have to compete with teams like the Rams every week, I don't see them winning those games consistently. So I don't really see them getting to the NFC Championship like the Rams could, because the Rams are just another caliber. They're just a higher firepower offense than the 49ers are, and they're more adaptable to different things, at least on paper and in my opinion. But to win the division, I think the 49ers and the Rams are pretty equal as far as just odds to win the division, and a lot of that goes to just strength of schedule. Yes, the Rams may be the better team, but they also have to play the better competition, and some of those are just not going to go their way. The ball's going to bounce the wrong way. It's going to, they're going to miss a kick. They're going to have a fumble, a bad interception, bad call even. And so all those things go into factor. And so I think that the 49ers win that division. It's at plus 193 right now, and I don't want to take it because of that. I really would like that to at least get to plus 200. And I think as we get closer to the regular season, that may be a line that pops up. But the reason I'm bringing this up now, and kind of one of the items I wanted to bring up, is if you bet this. So if you were to bet the 49ers to win the division, what does that mean for you later on down the line? Well, the 49ers, let's say that they are winning the division, or maybe it's a close race. Maybe it's, they're like 10-6, and the Rams are also 10-6, and it comes down to the last week of the season. Well, now you can hedge. So now you can bet the Rams to lose their game, or the 49ers to lose their game, or however you want to do it, because okay, if the 49ers lose and the Rams win, then I would at least win with the Rams. If the Rams lose and the 49ers win, I already have that covered because the 49ers to win the division is already a bet I have in my pocket. So one of these things that can come up towards the end of the season where you can kind of mitigate your risk and make sure that you come away with a win one way or the other, especially when the odds are at a plus 200, because that means that you can bet $100 on this, $100 on another bet, and at the end of the day, you're still going to make you're still going to get $100 profit on whichever side wins, assuming that the other odd is at least decent. And just a quick look at the schedule. So the 49ers actually do play the Rams the last week of the regular season, which means that this is an even better way to mitigate, because now it's not like, hey, they're playing one team and the Rams are playing the other. They are in direct competition last week of the season. So if, in fact, they do both end up at 9-6, if I have the Rams to win the division, if they're at 10-6, and I have the Rams, the 49ers to win the division at plus 200, let's say that the Rams are the favorite for this game and they are minus 110. Well, now I can bet 110 here, which would say, okay, I win $100 here, and it would cover this bet. So if I lose the 49ers to win the division, I still break even. And I could, of course, alter this bet to win more if I wanted to. But let's say that that's not the case. Maybe the Rams are the underdog and they are, plus 140 on the money line or whatever it is. Okay, well, now I can bet $100 on the Rams to win, and I win 140. And so if the 49ers do, in fact, win, okay, great. So now I won my $100 back plus 200, so I'm walking away with a total of $300 there, minus the 100 I put here, so that makes me $200. Or if the Rams win, then I bet $100 here. I won another 140. 140 covers the 100 I bet here, and I still walk away with $40. So this is the kind of bet you want to look for as far as season-long odds. And you don't have to go through and look through every single schedule. Just kind of be aware of the odds that what you put in your pocket now as far as season-long bets, and know how to mitigate them as we get to the end of the season to ensure yourself a win. And again, if you can do any kind of arbitrage, at that point you're no longer really betting, because it's going to happen one way or the other if it's a true arbitrage. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the time to collect the funds. So those are some things I wanted to go over today, guys. As far as the picks and leans and things like that, the Raiders, and I brought this up yesterday, were one of my picks, something I was looking at as far as preseason week 2. Raiders were -7 against the Rams, and it's because the Rams, again, as I talked about, just seem to not really give a shit about preseason. It was -7. I didn't like that because I didn't want to put up the 7 points against the Rams, because they should be able to at least keep it close, even if they're not really trying. The Raiders, though, did slide a little bit as far as the line is concerned. So now it's only Raiders -6. And I think if you keep watching this line throughout the week, at some point you probably will be able to scoop up a Raiders -5.5. And that's perfect, because now you are capturing the 6 and the 7. And so Raiders -5.5 is really what I'm looking for. And it's only Wednesday as I'm taping this. So hopefully by the time Saturday comes around, or even closer to kickoff, we get that line to come up or to pop up here. Lastly, though, we also have a little bit of a change in the Titans and Buccaneers game. The odds on Bookmaker had it at Titans +1.5, -108 just yesterday, and even last night And as of today, they currently have it at +1, also at -108, meaning that they've dropped the line a little bit, which means that more money is coming in on the Titans. So, full transparency here, guys, I have already made that bet. I am already in that position for the Titans as plus 0.5 at a plus 103 line. So that's what I'm at. Numbers are changing, so I just want to let everybody know where those lines are at. If you are looking to get involved with that, I would probably say to get it now, because it seems like the market is going kind of, they're siding with me on this one, so the lines that you're getting are going to be worse and worse and worse as you get closer to kickoff. And lastly here, just I wanted to go over some injuries. So we talked about the Ravens last video and how they are traditionally really good in the preseason. One thing that I have noticed, so in all right now, the Ravens actually have 4 injured wide receivers. Happens to be their 4 probably most prominent wide receivers. So guys like Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman, and I believe Michael Boykin are all hurt right now. And it seems like most of them, other than Bateman, because Bateman had a surgery, he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. All of the others, though, seem like they're going to be okay for week 1, or they'll be ready to go come week 1. But the reason I bring this up right now is that if you're playing preseason, as far as gambling is concerned, I don't think I want to take the risk on the Ravens, even though I love them and I know that they're typically really good in the preseason. At some point, Harbaugh and his team, as far as like coaches are concerned, are going to come to the conclusion like, hey, we are better off maybe dropping a game here, and even though we want to like set the precedent about being winners and all that kind of stuff, we're better off dropping the game here, keeping everybody healthy, than trying to push it, get this win that at the end of the day isn't going to matter any, and is going to put us behind the 8 ball when it comes to health and being able to just put out the 11 guys we want to come week 1 against the Raiders. That being said, the Ravens are probably going to run all over the Raiders, so maybe passing isn't the most important thing. But Mark Andrews is also going to need to be healthy, so I don't think they want to risk him getting hurt at any point. Now, on that note, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is the Cardinals and the Chiefs preseason week 2, but also just as a whole, preseason week 2, this season at least, is going to be treated as like the kind of like the walkthrough, like the dress rehearsal for NFL actual games. And the reason for that is that week 3 is their last. There's only 3 preseason games this year, so week 3 is their last one. After week 3, and I actually didn't even realize this until I really looked at the calendar. So this weekend there's games. Following weekend there's going to be games. The weekend after that there are no games. The regular season does not start that following weekend. It will not start until the following Thursday after that, and it'll be the Buccaneers Cowboys, and then the rest of the teams will play on Sunday. So week 3, obviously that's probably going to be a lot of backups and guys trying to make the team and not really any starters, and then they have another week off. So if you're going to get your starters some reps and get them kind of back into shape and back into playing full speed and all that kind of stuff, you're going to do it this week, because next week is too close to the regular season. But if you don't do it this week, like let's say hey, we give them week 1 and that's it, well, now your guys are sitting for effectively 3 weeks not playing an actual game. You might scrimmage, you might go against joint practices or whatever, but it's not the same. So this week, just be prepared to see as many starters as we usually would in a week 3, previously week 3 dress rehearsal kind of game. And the Cardinals and the Chiefs specifically, because Andy Reid has come out saying that he's going to give his starters a half, so the first half. Now, those guys are going to be playing, and as we know, the Chiefs have a great offense and a high-scoring offense. But what about the Cardinals? Well, the Cardinals have also come out saying that they're going to give Kyler Murray a good look. So they're going, and it's expected by the Arizona press and just kind of in general from the NFL media, that we're going to get a good look at the starters for the Cardinals. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be showing out their playbook, but they're going to have their starters in there. Some of them are banged up. Some guys like DeAndre Hopkins and J.J. Watt, as far as like defense is concerned, those guys are banged up a little bit. So we may or may not see them. And if we do see DeAndre Hopkins, we probably won't see him very much. At least not as much as we're going to see Kyler Murray. But on that note, guys like AJ Green are probably going to play out there, and they're probably going to give us a good look at maybe at least how he looks. Does he still look like he's got it? Has he lost his step? Is he totally done at this point? So all of this is to say, I don't know who's going to win that game, but the over-under started at 39, and the over-under at this point is actually at 41 right now. So we've already had 2 points increase as far as the over-under is concerned, and what worries me about that is that on paper, this seems like a really good one to take the over, and there's even like a points here still of value, because usually 42 is kind of the key number when it comes to like preseason totals and things like that. So there's still some value on this, and I could easily see it going over. I see a lot of places, like a lot of different websites, have the final score predicted as like 31-24 or like a 30-21 kind of game. So they're expecting it to get into the 50s. That very well may happen. What I'm concerned with, though, is that this number keeps moving, and we're still days away from kickoff. So we have 2 more days, and by the time we actually get to the game, which will be on Friday, this over-under may be at like 42.5 or 43. So you got to make the decision. Do you want to follow the steam and kind of jump on that over, even though the number at that point has moved several points and is probably no longer really viable, or it's no longer a EV play or expected value play, or do you take the under and kind of try to buck that trend? For me, I'm probably just totally staying off of this one. Had I acted earlier and acted as soon as I saw that little blurb come out saying that the starters are all going to pretty much be in there for a half, I might have taken the over. Might still look to take the first half over. But like I said previously, I'm really only trying to make one play this week. I just want to make sure I'm seeing the field clearly before I start putting lots and lots of bets out there. And off of week 1, I was not seeing that field too clearly. So I'm going to say where I'm at. But if you are maybe interested in this game, or you're looking for some more action, that's a game you may want to keep your eye on and see what the line does. If at any point it drops, because what you will see in just betting syndicates is you'll see them start at one point. So let's say it's 39. They'll bet the over, and they'll bet it heavily. They'll bet like whatever their max bet is. So sometimes it's like $20,000 for a preseason game and for this early in the season. So they bet $20,000. That line shoots up to 40. They bet another $10,000. It shoots up to 41. And now they're just going to wait until the general public comes in. So the public is coming in at 41. The public almost always bets over. Public gets it to, let's say, 42.5. Now they can bet, a max bet again at the 42.5 or the under. And the max bet as we get closer to game day actually does increase. So now the max bet can go to like 50,000 for the under. And so what they'll have is they'll have a middle position. So they'll have like $30,000 over 39 or over 39.5, and then they'll have like $50,000 under 42.5. So, I mean, in a sense, maybe they're rooting for one side of the over. Like in that case, they'd be rooting for the under. But what they're really trying to get here is they're trying to kind of middle that number, and they're playing the lines and finding that arbitrage. So either way, they're walking out of there with one of the tickets, quote unquote, winning. But a lot of times what they're really trying to do, like I said, is get that middle so they can get both of those. And if they can get a key number in there, like for preseason, if they can get like a 42 and they can be around the middle, they're hoping that it hits that key number. And now they've won both sides, and they've just, they had a great day off of one game. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the look if you see something, if you can have a way of looking at like the tickets that come in. A lot of different podcasts advertise that. I'm sure it's on Google somewhere, but they'll tell you like how many tickets are coming in on the over or under. If you see that there's a lot of tickets coming in on the over, but the over either stops moving or it drops a little bit, look at taking the under, even if it's just for like a quarter of a unit, just to get something on that, because the number there is telling you something about what the sharps are saying or where their money is at. That all being said, guys, that's what I got for you for today. Hopefully you found some information in here helpful. Hopefully you are using OddsJam. I can tell you this is really the first year I'm using this, and it's pretty much paid for itself. It's very helpful, very quick and easy to use, and I gotta say it opens your eyes to a lot of books that you might not be checking. Like I could tell you, I was only really checking like 3 books out of this whole set, and I don't have access to all of them. Like I don't have access to DraftKings, but just knowing that those numbers are out there and kind of what I can expect from my sports book really helps out. So again, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Good luck, and I'll be back soon.